All right. So starting off, reviewing action. So I'm just going to going off the doc, just going off the agenda, and if people want to follow along. So the action items from last time also bleeds into the first thing I wanted to talk about, which was the roadmap. Last time we had gone through and kind of just talked about a lot of the things we wanted to do, some ideas that we had, took notes on that. And I put those into kind of a roadmap for both OSLO and OpenSLO. I created a project in the GitHub repository, put all those ideas as well as all the other things we've been talking about in a project to kind of have a roadmap to a 1.0 release for both of those. I think as we go along, if there's anything else we want to add to that, we can. I also created a milestone for both of those that we can work towards.
Do you have links to those things? Because I'm.
Oh yes, here. Let me put that. And actually, let me share my screen, and I'll show you that too. To do that. There we go. There we go. Can you do you see the OSLO project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm going to drop this in the chat too. If I can do that one screen, there we go. There we go. And those are in the project there. So yeah, there's 2 projects for each one of them. The first one being just ideas, which is just kind of like a triage project as we like put things in. If we don't want to necessarily put them in the 1.0 or whatnot, that's in there. Right now, there's only a few things, but just figure that we want to have a catch-all project to just kind of consolidate all the ideas that we have or have had. And then there's like a 1.0 project. This has, I think, everything that most everything we've talked about and wanted to do in there. And so we can visualize what we have to do, what's in progress, and what's already done as we move towards our 1.0 release. A lot of this is just better defining what we have, ironing out some of the sharp edges that we've discovered, and integrating some of the ideas that we've also discussed. Things like, the separation of SLO and SLI. That's one of the things we came up with last time. Better decoupling of those 2 concepts to allow, like, SLOs to be independent of our SLIs and to have better access management of those files and things like that. So that's all in there. Anybody have any comments about that?
Definitely very helpful. It is that well organized, so that's good.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, if anybody has any strong opinions about the format of this, let me know. I was gonna go do this with like just a markdown file. It's like a roadmap. I figured this might be a little bit easier to manage rather than a markdown file with everyone. So again, not a strong opinion on this one. If other people have a strong opinion, I just, again, figured this might be easier.
I think when things get complicated enough, what you tend to have is a short manifesto or maybe a roadmap in some non-GitHub style format, like just Markdown or whatever. For us at this stage, this seems totally appropriate.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind because yeah, a manifest might be better. Like you said, a manifest might be better as we get bigger. Cool. If we don't have any questions about that one, I'll move over to the next agenda item. So then the next thing was, I think we kind of talked about this last time, I believe, but one of the things that kind of came up, I think Matthias was talking about, or we talked to you about this, doing and having a end-to-end demo of what OpenSLO can be, and what it looks like and what we're envisioning. So like having it in these OpenSLO formats, to, connecting that to your data sources, having an alert, just a full end-to-end demo.
Just to suggest, should we maybe separate two use cases if you do demo, because probably there is obviously the different needs depending on when you use those SLOs. If you do pure testing, performance validations through Quality Gates, there's a specific, there's a different need or different requirements than just pure production SLO.
Yeah, so that's actually a good point. Yeah, so you're saying like, okay, so this is our this is like, our performance testing SLO, or performance monitoring SLO. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Where we can have several indicators defined, several SLOs defined, and so on. While in production, maybe you will have less SLOs defined there.
And also, I think the use case, at least we've been talking about this, that we see a lot of our users on the captain side really liking to use SLOs for continuous, let's say, build validation. But what that means is they're always validating a certain time frame of a test. And then it's not just about SLOs, looking at them, let's say, in a time frame from a month, but looking at them at smaller chunks of time, but then also kind of comparing them with the baseline that has been calculated across multiple previous builds. I think this is just, as Henrik says, while we use the terminology SLIs and SLOs, and we talk about metrics and thresholds, I think the use case is still different slightly from the production use case SLO. And this is why I think it clearly makes sense, as Henrik suggested, to try to demo both use cases, because it's slightly different. I mean, while there's some overlap, but it's slightly different audiences too.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, maybe for like the first iteration of the demo, we try and find just a really basic use case and go with that one as our starting point.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. If there's anybody that would like to help with that, let me know.
I think we already have plenty of various examples that we do in Captain. So mainly we have example with Dynatrace, but we can grab an examples with Prometheus that will make the like a standard. But we have plenty of various examples from since we started the project, so we could definitely help you there on this. Sure.
Okay, that'd be amazing. I'll hit you guys up offline about that, and we can organize more and work on that then.
Okay.
I think, yeah, so that was a big thing that we wanted to do as along, as well as the stuff that's in the roadmaps and kind of cleaning up, and there's some questions about the where things go and everything in the spec. This is, I think, one of the big things that we wanted to do is so we can have like this demo for people and say like, here's how OpenSLO can fit into your stack. Here's how it works, with making it a little bit more tangible.
Yeah. So that means if I kind of quickly spell out what would be great, right? At least from my perspective, and kind of phrasing it in a user story. I am an SRE, and my SLO in production, I don't know, is 1 second response time. Like the 90% of my requests should be faster than 1 second. And I'm measuring this over a period of 7 days. And then on the other side, I want to say, and I want to take the same SLO, the same response time, and I want to make sure as I get new builds every day coming through the pipeline, I want to make sure that my performance tests that I'm running in the pipeline are also adhering to that 1 second. But additionally, I also want this SLO to be flagged if I am introducing a regression with the latest build that, let's say, comes in on Wednesday as compared to the builds on Tuesday and Monday. But in the end, it's kind of like we are all agreeing that response time and 1 second response time is good, but in a production environment, right, I'm using it to figure out what's my error budget. Can I still deploy into production without messing up my error production, or without messing up my error budget? And then in the delivery use case, I would use the same metric and have my performance test measured against it. But then I'm looking at the time frame from the test, but also comparing it against if I have any regressions to the previous iterations and the previous evaluations. I hope this makes sense, but this is kind of what would be nice from a demo where I can say, and this is how you specify this SLO in OpenSLO.
Yeah.
And then we have, let's say, Noble 9 using this in production monitoring, and Captain uses the same OpenSLO, same definition for the delivery use case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what we're thinking about. Yeah, just like, because some of the questions that we get I'm getting from people is like, how does this look in my workflow? Like what, this spec that you have, this OpenSLO spec, what does that look like? Like how when the rubber meets the road, what does that look like? And so I want to be able to have something for people to, can look at and experience and be able to put their arms around it. So yeah, like how does that look like? If I define this SLO in OpenSLO, what does it look like integrating with Captain and the rest of my pipeline?
To be clear, as best I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, the stuff that OpenSLO will give you is the way to programmatically express your ambitions. It won't give you the way to real-time compare the performance of your system previously to the performance of your system now, which is OpenTelemetry or Prometheus or Handwave, bunch of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be up to the implementation to actually do that sort of like calculation. But yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know that we would get that far in the weeds with it.
Well, I can see an argument for it, but I don't think it's the pre-1.0 argument.
Yeah, I think we will probably want to leave the door open for being able to maybe define a way, like say that I want to compare these two values, but the actual mechanics of it would be in the implementation. But like you said, I don't know that we need to have that for 1.0.
Well, maybe we should also remind ourselves why we're doing this, because we want to avoid the pain of a user that has different ways of expressing SLOs in different tools, right? And even the same SLO, maybe if they want to use it even on the same project for different environments. And if they happen to use different tools in these environments, then why do they need to use two different expression languages? And I think at least this is for me the great thing about OpenSLO, that we just define a standard, and then whatever tool I'm using in a particular environment for whatever use case, the specification can be the same.
Yeah,
and easily shared. Unless I'm getting this wrong, but I think that's the great thing about it.
Yeah, no, I think that is like that is definitely the stated goal, to be like you said, be agnostic of the implementation, having this open like specification to be able to define it and move providers.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. So, and that, Ian, that means you're going to work on this after this, towards the next meeting on this demo, or how do you want to collaborate? Do you want to start now? Do you want to?
Yes, I'll start. Let's start a channel in Slack. It might be a good way of handling that. I think that there's some prerequisites that we need to handle first. you know, like getting the spec a little bit more nailed down before we start, you know, implementing it. But just like I know that there's a few like bugs in the spec that we want to talk about and address first. But I think, yeah, putting it into the Slack channel, we can start talking about that. That way also, I think there's some people that are outside of this meeting, if they want to help collaborate too, they can have exposure to it.
Yeah, that definitely sounds good. I'm currently still working on my tool for SLOs and Prometheus. So I'd be super happy to kind of like integrate with OpenSLO. That's why I'm here all the time. And yeah, like ultimately, I think I'm kind of like complementing what has been said for a long running system of some sorts, and then making that possible with Prometheus and OpenSLO. Yeah, so definitely want to be part of that endeavor, and I'll check out the channel, I guess. Sounds good.
Awesome, thank you. I think another thing that I'll do too, and I need to make notes about this. I'll make an issue for this too, and kind of outline, you know, goals and expected outcomes for that too, so that we can work off a common issue, and you know, have the common ground. So making a note here. Cool. Anybody else have any comments on that?
I have another use case which is slightly different, but it's basically, suppose you happen to be running a large company where a lot of different backend services are in play, and suppose you decide, okay, now everyone needs to have an SLO because we need to expose what the actual, or well, the ambitions for the performance of our services are. Now we have a directory with a large number of service names, and we want to run OSLO over all of those directories, and anytime there's a thing that's missing or that doesn't parse in a way, we want to be able to fire off automatic emails and say, in classic enterprise project management fashion, oh dear, you seem to be the red cell on the spreadsheet. I wonder if you wouldn't mind being the green cell. Thank you very much. And the glue code in order to make that work would be super convenient if that was on a roadmap somewhere.
Is that for like if they just don't have any SLOs defined, or what would we look for in that?
Oh, well, no SLOs means the spreadsheet cell is red, and some SLOs, but they don't parse, means the spreadsheet cell is orange, and everything's okay means the spreadsheet cell is green.
So that means, are you then asking for that we have a tool that on the one side gets a list of all the available services and then just validates it with what SLOs are defined, and then basically says those that are missing are red by default? And okay, then yeah, so basically what you're talking about is SLO coverage. So you want to increase, you want to come to a certain coverage of SLOs.
Yeah,
GitLab has this tool. We built it as well. So
oh, very interesting.
Okay,
I'll try find the issue while we're talking, because it's all open.
Yeah, I think we so there's been a kind of a talk about that, but I think we kind of I don't know if I have it in here yet, but it's where did it go? No, I don't think we have it in here, but I think it's just been something that we've talked about. Kit's actually brought it up a couple times, but yeah, it's like being able to say like do that YAML cover or do that coverage and say like yes that this SLO exists, but it was kind of in a binary like do you have that SLO file. I'm really curious what the GitLab one is too because
Are you talking about Mixins? Sorry, is that what it is or?
No. Well, I'll explain what the GitLab one is. So we have a very primitive service catalog, which is a YAML file, which is all of our services, and then we have our list of SLOs, and that's in JSON, just because. And we actually run a really big JSON script, which kind of applies a whole bunch of rules to say, does it have an SLI? Does it have a reasonable SLO? Does it have X, Y, and Z? And then we come up with a rating for each of those services. And the link that I've got there is kind of the output of that whole big file. My concern with the way that, at least that we're doing it, is it's so customized to our own, criteria. Like, I don't think it would be useful to anyone else, but it was more like just an illustration. I think it's an illustration of what Neil's talking about.
Nile, by the way.
Oh, did you? I think it broke up there, Neil.
Sorry, Nile, like the Egyptian river.
His name pronunciation.
I think my headphones might have gone.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this is interesting. I'll have to I'll take a look at this because I think that now did you take a are you taking a look at that? Is that what you're talking? Oh, sorry, it was in the meeting notes here. I'll paste it in the meeting. Where did that go?
And do you map this just by name? I was wondering. So that means you create SLOs and you just map everything by service name. Is this how it does it scale?
That's right. So we have basically a key. There's two files there. You can see in the introduction, it points to one called the metrics catalog, which is just basically our catalog of SLOs. And then the other one is the service catalog, which is just a YAML file. And I was just working on it today and thinking it's getting a bit big, but at the moment it's kind of, we're managing it. And it's not particularly well maintained, but we try to keep everything in there.
Yeah, this might be a good one or this might be a good starting point to think about how we might do something like what Niall's talking about, because I think that it's definitely a use case that we want to address and have a solve for. Maybe to start with is just a simple, just checking to see if the SLO file exists. And then after that, getting a more advanced and saying like, are these, like Niall was saying, do these parse? Do these make sense?
Just one quick question again to the naming, like to the kind of link, which SLO do you want to apply to which service? I always thought that, if you want to scale this, you need some type of tagging where you basically say this SLO should be applied to services, let's say, that run in level 1 are front-end services and run on that technology, right? And so with this, you have a nice definition which SLOs are applied. And then when the new service comes along, you just tag it and say this service is level 1, level 2, whatever. And then you automatically know which SLOs should be applied. Is this the way you do it too? Or is this, or you, again, I sometimes somehow have just the name match in my head now.
Yeah, I mean, we just using names at the moment. So we kind of specify the SLOs at the service level. Each service has got different SLOs. We've got kind of a homegrown, like I'm sure most people, we have quite a homegrown solution, and we're looking to move everything over to OpenSLO, at least for self-managed.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, it's it's mostly just based on the name of the service that we match. But my experience so far, and admittedly have had limited experience on actually trying to implement things with OpenSLO, but I did feel like more tagging would be good. There's a lot of places where it would really help us to be able to put sort of arbitrary labels on things so that we could match up with things in our existing system.
Yeah, and especially because otherwise you just come up with a lot of duplicates, because every service
Yeah.
has probably shares 90% of the same SLOs. Or I don't know how many, but just coming up with a number here.
Yeah.
But
as it is, we're probably going to generate the OpenSLO configs from JSONet, just because we use JSONet for a lot of those kind of things. And one of the reasons would be to reduce that duplication. But that's, I don't know, maybe that's not the best approach. I haven't given it that much thought yet.
Cool. Yeah, this is awesome.
I was thinking just instead of we could here it's going to be mainly focused for Kubernetes, but adding annotations, because maybe you can imagine in the future that we have something, a daemon set that scans, I don't know, or whatever, that scans the various Kubernetes API to get all the annotated pods and then check if the rule exists and stored somewhere and then raise alerts. That could be something as well, but that would be very dedicated for Kubernetes.
Yeah, agreed. Cool.
It turns out people put plain text fields to all kinds of uses, and some of them are good.
Cool. Well, did anybody have anything else?
I actually got to jump to, because I have a meetup that I have to present it. I need to jump over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for see you.
See you soon.
Yeah, if nobody has anything else, I think we can maybe give everyone a half an hour back.
Okay.
And like I said, I will follow up with the ticket and the channel for the demo. I'm also going to add one with Niall's idea for the kind of validation check.
Internal service validator, I think.
Internal service validator. I'm going to write that down.
And if you're doing it in Java, it's an internal service factory validator, factory.
Impl. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I will give everyone a half an hour back. I appreciate everyone's time.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ian.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great
Bye.
day.
Bye.
See you. Bye.